Hey everybody, it is Chainsaw Gears 12 here, and I am back with a review that I couldn't wait any longer to review. Between the Buried and Me, Parallax 2 Future Sequence. And now a little bit about the EP that was set the tone for this album, a little bit about that and what to expect on the Parallax 2. Parallax 1, basically Parallax Hypersleep Dialogues, was an EP Between the Buried and Me, released 2011, last year. Basically a 30-minute EP telling a part 1 of a story, and now we get to hear part 2 of the story, which is Parallax 2 Future Sequence. Now, to Parallax 2 Future Sequence, we basically get the sense of what Between the Buried and Me basically is, like I said, telling a story. We get to hear the second part. And one cool thing that I really noticed, I have to talk about this real quick right now, is that at the beginning of the album, there's a song called Goodbye to Everything, the first out of 12 tracks. And it is the ending of the story that we're being told. We heard the first part in the EP, now we're getting to the second part of the story, and we hear the ending at the beginning of the album. And you're probably thinking, what? Like, we hear the ending at the beginning of the album? Like, look, why? Because the band felt like, we're going to end the story, but we're going to backtrack now to the ending of the story again, because the 12th track, which is Goodbye to Everything Reprise, is just reprising the end of the story. So we hear the ending of the story at the beginning of the second part of the story, and basically we're backtracking through to hear how it ended that way and basically how it got to there. So that was one cool thing that Between the Buried and Me decided to do on this album. And on the whole aspect of that is, they're telling a story. This is something Between the Buried and Me have not been known to do. They haven't done this in the past, so this is something completely different. We're being told a story, and now it's a two-part story. We have a 30-minute first part. We got a 72-minute, the Parallax 2, second part of the story. So basically, the second part is a longer, double the length of the first part. So that was really, really cool that Between the Buried and Me are now telling us a story, and hopefully they'll do this again at some point down the road in their careers, tell another story like this. But one cool new thing that I really noticed on this album that's different is that, like I said earlier in the video, that there's 12 tracks on this album. So to a lot of metal fans, that's not really something like, well, that doesn't really matter. Like, I listen to, blah, 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 and they put out 14 tracks on their album. Well, for Between the Buried and Me, that's a first, basically, in the sense of the style of writing that they've gotten to now in their careers. Because on past things, Colors and The Great Misdirect, we're throwing out the EP. They're known for writing between 6 to 8 minute, not 6 minutes, 6 to 8 tracks, sorry about that. And basically it's just throwing in all these different types of styles of writing, and basically like all these different types of complex stuff into a song or a composition, because a lot of people like to consider these compositions because there's so much stuff going on, and that's basically it. You're just getting thrown all these long songs, and that's it. For the Parallax 2, we're getting these things called transitions, as I call them. Basically, there's these transitions that basically transition for you from a long track, a little cut off, a little break, a little bit, basically the transition, leading you off into another long track. Some long tracks in this album that I really enjoyed. Basically not saying they're better than the other ones that I don't mention, but basically just giving you a little highlight. Telos, which is a single, about a 9.5 minute long track, maybe getting closer to 10 minutes. Really amazing track. It's just really good to see where it's at on the album. It actually fits well where it's at on the album. Melting City, which is about, I think, an 11-minute long track. Really, really good stuff. And then we have these transition pieces. Like, these are not all the ones, but the ones that really caught my attention was Parallax, which is about a minute and 15 seconds. And it's a voice talking about Parallax, basically. And it's a good voice piece that basically transitions you from a long track to another long track. And Black Box, which is a great track, about 2 minutes, I think. And we have Bloom, which is one of my highlights because that song had so much going on within the 3.5 minute thing that was going on. It had a really amazing piano bit that really goes on. Then we have this really good vocals, basically really good lyrical content from Tommy on that track alone, basically the whole album. But basically this album gives you 12 tracks, some really long tracks, some really short tracks, some transitions. Basically, there's a lot of cool down moments, but not so much to the point where you're like, oh, seriously, like we have to wait again for another long track. So it basically just gives you a little ease into the next long track. To the musicians and the production on this album, so basically we're going to go off into Tommy, vocalist. His growls and screams in this album are just more powerful than I've heard on previous records, I personally believe. His actual voice, his singing style, blows my mind once again. As me as a singer, I am shocked of how he's able to come up with these harmonies, these vocal harmonies that he's hearing from the music that the band's actually writing. I mean, like, I could sit there and think, like, okay, his note, okay, the next note's going to be lower, and then he'll just do, like, this whole, like, wind or something. Like, whoa, like, that's different, because I think Tommy's one of those really unique vocalists in metal, basically, or whatever type of metal you want to call Between the Buried and Me, because there's so much different varieties. But for Tommy to come up with all these awesome vocal, like, just changes and basically just hearing all these harmonies, I don't know how he does it. I don't know how he comes up with all these really cool vocal harmonies and these really cool, like, the stuff that he's able to throw in with his vocal style and his range of his voice. Just blows my mind. To the guitars, Dustie and Paul Waggoner, once again, bringing their A game on this album. There's a lot of moments on this album where it's just the heavy, hard-hitting riffs, and it's obvious that they just really took out and just, like, blasted you with really hard riffs. They come up with these really beautiful melodic harmony type stuff. There's really beautiful melodic pieces, guitar-wise. And once again, they just blow my mind on that part with that guitar aspect. There's just a lot of different variety of metal, as we all know, from Between the Buried and Me. So it's not any different on here. So you're going to hear a lot of different types of guitar styling, a lot of different types of guitar sounds. Basically, you're just going to hear so much different types of style in the guitars. And once again, they brought their A game, and it really shows in this album guitar-wise. Bass-wise, Dan Briggs, once again, there's a lot of moments on this album where he is highlighted, and that's one thing I really enjoy, is that a bass player is highlighted in a metal band. I mean, sometimes yes it is, but on some bands it's like to the point where they have to, like, play like these really crazy insane tap, you know, bass things where it's like going like 800 miles a minute or something like that. But for Dan Briggs, there's a lot of moments on this album where he's playing a simple piece or a simple thing or something that's not following the guitars, and it's audible, and it's really noticed, like, you can notice he's not playing the same stuff. And I really enjoy that Between the Buried and Me really highlights the bass player, because for a lot of bands, the bass player is just in the back of the stage, or basically back of the album, not really doing much. So it's really nice to see Dan Briggs, like I said, being highlighted on the album. To Blake Richardson on drums, my God, like, I don't understand how he's able to sit down on a drum kit and play a 11-minute track, let's say Melting City, and able to transition from, like, this really fast-paced time signature to slowing it down and basically going speed up again, slow down, speed up, slow down. Oh, we're going to do a change up there, change over there. Like, I don't know how he's able to sit there on a drum kit and come up with, like, these complex drumming, drumming beats, and just able to play it and basically write all this really amazing drum stuff that follows along with all the music that they're able to write, and all these different time signatures and all these different variety of stuff going into tracks. It blows my mind. So once again, Blake Richardson, and to the rest of the band that played on the album, they brought their A game, and it really shows on this album. To a fan of metal that doesn't really know what Between the Buried and Me is, but has been hearing hype and wants to know what this album is, basically you're going to get your typical stuff you're known from a metal band. Really fast-paced riffs, really hard crunching riffs, a lot of, moments of really blistering guitars, basically a lot of blistering, like, metal stuff. But then you're going to get a lot of moments where there's a lot of different, like, styles of music getting thrown in there, a lot of, melodic stuff. We have, like, some really odd moments with the keyboard. We have a lot of just different styles of music Between the Buried and Me have been known for to throw in the album. And on the Parallax 2 Future Sequence, it is obvious that they have not changed from that, because they're throwing in some more random stuff, some random noises, stuff like that. So if you're a fan of metal and you want to get into Between the Buried and Me, just realize that on top of the long tracks, there's a lot of moments where you're going to go, like, that's kind of weird. I didn't expect that transition. That's kind of odd. It's going to happen, but that's what Between the Buried and Me are known for, and it's on this album, and I still love it. One more thing I do want to say is that a lot of people will say that Colors is top-notch. We're over here, sorry. Colors is on the pedestal. Colors can't be touched. And Tommy Rogers, after Colors was released, and right before The Great Misdirect, the 2 years later after Colors, was like, basically, he said, the vocalist, if you don't remember what I said, Tommy Rogers, he said that he wants to outdo Colors. And he said he thinks he did with The Great Misdirect. But a lot of fans will say that Colors is the album that can't be topped. It's on the pedestal. They can't top it. Parallax 2 Future Sequence, I'm going to have to say it's not surpassing Colors, but for me personally, I think it's pretty neck and neck to me. Because there was a lot of moments where it reminded me of Colors, and there's a lot of moments on this album that I was like, dang, that blows my mind. So I'm going to have to say it's close. It's pretty close to me. Parallax 2 Future Sequence, sorry, I was at Hypersleep Dialogues, wrong. But Future Sequence, Parallax 2, it's pretty close to me. Basically, that's the review, guys. If I had to give a rating for this album, I'd have to say a 9.5, maybe a 9.75. There's not really negative about this album, but for me personally, I'm a huge Between the Buried and Me fan. They're my second favorite band in the world, and this album just blows my mind. And once again, another amazing album from Between the Buried and Me. So, once again, guys, that is a review. If you like the video, you like the video. And if you like me or you like my reviews or whatever, like that, or not like that, you like, yeah, of course. Subscribe for more metal videos, and I will see you guys soon.